I now invite Dr. Hansen to deliver the occasional address. Dr. David Hansen was awarded an Australia Council Senior Fellowship prior to taking up his current appointment as a senior researcher and painting specialist at Sotheby's Australia. David has spent 25 years in public galleries as director of the Warrnambool Art Gallery, the Riddick Art Gallery, Mount Gambier and the Australian Sculpture Triennial Melbourne, as the senior curator of art at the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery in Hobart. He has initiated, curated and managed some 60 exhibitions and has published more than 150 catalogues, essays, reviews, interviews, papers, lectures and books, including John Glover and the Colonial Picturesque, the 5th Australian Sculpture Triennial and the Face of Australia. He is an extraordinarily experienced and accomplished art critic and historian. Welcome, Dr. Hansen.
Chancellor, members of Council, Vice-Chancellor, senior officers, faculty staff, distinguished guests, graduands, families and friends. In the United States, the speech made at the conferring of degrees at the end of a student cohort's life at university is known as a commencement address. This deliberate jumbling of time, this paradoxical anachronism, is paralleled all over the world by the various rituals of the university graduation ceremony. After several years of engagement with the latest ideas and technologies associated with your various subject studies, after participating in teletutorials and submitting work for online assessment, you now have to sit there and listen to a version of that medieval text form, the sermon, being recited by some old guy wearing a hat that was the height of fashion in 1450, before being presented with a parchment-look scroll with your name handwritten in calligraphic flourishes, bearing the blue seal of the university and bound up in a blue silver-edged testamer tube. This is meant to confuse you. Today is a ceremony of initiation, a rite of passage, and you, as the initiates, the neophytes, are supposed to be given a heightened awareness of the movement of time as you tremble on the edge, the brink of your individual and collective futures. Welcome to Terminator 4, graduation. The end begins. Today is a day for looking back at friendships you have made with lecturers and tutors and peers, at the discoveries and masteries you have made in the language, structure and skills of your particular disciplines, at those no-dose and Red Bull late nights of last-minute study, at the undignified begging for just another 2 days extension of that essay deadline. And yes, it is a day for looking back at your extracurricular achievements, participating in clubs and societies, playing sports and playing music and playing cards, drinking coffee and drinking beer, working crappy part-time jobs in the hospitality and retail industries. Maybe, if you were lucky, falling head over heels in love. Maybe even more than once. It is also a time of looking forward. To what? Weightless independence or heavy responsibility? Professional achievement and fulfilment or tedious wage slavery, unemployment and retraining? becoming a corporate CEO or a member of cabinet, or realising in midlife that you've made a terrible mistake and you really wanted to be a vet. The archetype, the symbol, the personification of this simultaneous looking forward and looking back is the Roman god Janus, the god of gates and doors, of beginnings and endings, and therefore, by association, of planting and harvest, birth and marriage, and one supposes of university graduations. Janus, aka Bifrons, is represented in classical art and coinage as, naturally, holding a key, but also, unnaturally, as having a double-faced head, the faces looking in opposite directions. According to legend, Janus was the first monarch of the kingdom of Latium. He was supposedly responsible for introducing agriculture, money and law, and for presiding over the golden age of classical prehistory. When he died, he was deified, and as a god, took on the role of protector of the city of Rome. It is said that when the neighbouring Sabines attacked the city in retaliation for Romulus and his mates stealing their women, but that's another story, they were smuggled in by a traitor and got halfway up the Capitoline Hill when Janus suddenly caused a hot spring to erupt from the ground, flushing the enemy away. Following that intervention, the Romans made sure that the doors of Janus's temple, closed during peacetime, were always opened up during times of war, so that the god would be able the more easily to intervene on Rome's behalf if such protection was required. Sadly, it appears that Janus's gates are now wedged in the open position. The planet is cursed with total war, permanent war, and by this I mean not just military action within or between those zones currently described as independent states, but broader conflicts. The war of national and religious fundamentalisms against rational, tolerant humanism. The war of the privileged first world OECD flat-screen TV middle class against the peoples of the impoverished, even starving third world. The war of a capitalist economic system predicated on limitless and eternal expansion against a finite and fragile and rapidly diminishing natural world. The war of thoughtless, egotistical consumerism against more noble social ideals of community and sharing and service. The countless wars of us against them. As you go out into the world from this initiation ceremony, I would therefore urge you all to remember Janus and the Romans, and to keep your doors open to new opportunities, to new ideas, to new people, to new ways of being in the world. And look both ways. Learn the lessons of humanity's rich and wonderful and difficult past. Find strength and conviction in your own history, your family background, and your school and university experiences. And then turn to face the future, your own and the world's, with energy and with courage and with hope. Congratulations to you all, and the very best of luck.